Tuesday, April 15th. Here's what we're working on this morning. The Ontario government will outline its direction for the next session with the speech from the throne later this afternoon.
Vladdy Guerrero Jr. celebrates becoming a Blue Jay forever.
And HBO has revealed its first cast members for the new Harry Potter TV series. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning, good morning. Nice to have you with us again today.
I'm Simone Gavros, back on the desk, and I will be here. This is my last day this week, and I'll be back in the field for the rest of the week. But it's nice to be back on the desk today.
So you're very interested then in Brian's forecast for the rest of the week.
Yes, Brian. And you were mentioning yesterday, I mean, it was rainy in the beginning.
Yes.
But then afterwards, it turned out to be a really nice day. It was very warm.
It was very nice.
It was. We got sunshine, and the temperature got to 18 degrees yesterday, so it got quite mild. The wind picked up a little bit as the day went on, but it wasn't too much of a bugbear. But today, a different story. We're sitting at 8 degrees right now, so it's a mild start. Very nice. We'll enjoy that. However, the temperature is going to go down as the day goes on. We could hit 3 later on. Well, that'll be into the early evening hours, so the temperature will sink as the day goes on. Now, we will have some sun to start the day. It's fairly clear right now. So sun to start. And then we're looking at showers developing a little later on, and it will be windier for the day today. And tomorrow, well, we could get the F word into the early morning forecast for tomorrow. So, Simone, if you're out tomorrow morning, be prepared for a much chillier start to the day. We'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes. Let's have a quick check on traffic as we usually do. We start with our exclusive camera, the 403 around Waterdown Road. Nothing to see there. Looks pretty good this morning. Let's go to our MTOs. Here's Nikola Tesla Boulevard, Toronto bound toward the Skyway away from us. Other side of the Skyway, it is really slow. I haven't had word of a collision. Must be something going on, maybe some lingering construction a little further along, but it's really slow coming across the Skyway. And then by the time you get to east of 4th, Toronto bound away from us, doing okay right there. So we'll update weather and traffic coming up in a few. Right now, the news.
Thanks, Brian. Premier Doug Ford's government priorities will be outlined this afternoon in the speech from the throne. The province's response to the growing trade war with the United States is expected to figure prominently. In a speech read by the Lieutenant Governor, the Ontario government is expected to table legislation to open up interprovincial trade. Premier Ford also wants to make it easier to approve and build large mining and energy projects to get more of Ontario's natural resources out to the rest of the world.
And the new session at Queen's Park opens with an historic first. MPP Donna Skelly has become Ontario's first female Speaker of the House.
Honourable members, you have elected Donna Skelly, member for Flamborough.
Skelly has represented the Hamilton area riding of Flamborough-Glanbrook for the Progressive Conservatives since 2018. Before that, she was a Hamilton City Councillor and is one of our former colleagues here at CHCH. The vote for Speaker is one of the only times that members of provincial parliament cast a secret ballot, essentially a free vote that can defy party lines.
It's a proud moment. I'm very honored to be elected. I mean, I had a lot of people put their faith in me to help them through the next 4 years. But to be the first woman is incredible. It's very, very special.
This is historic. It's amazing that we have a woman as a speaker, and I'm actually shocked it's taken this long to happen, but we're glad we're the first government to have a woman speaker. It's sad because she's not going to be able to join us in caucus ever.
A speaker is chosen at the start of every legislative session. It's a neutral, nonpartisan role that presides over meetings and enforces the rules. And if you wonder why she's being dragged to the throne, well, that's a tradition that dates back centuries to when speakers were actually executed for relaying messages to the Crown that they didn't want to hear.
Also at Queen's Park, Premier Doug Ford drew some attention when asked for his response to his campaign manager's comments about the campaign of federal Tory leader Pierre Poilievre.
If Corey was running that campaign, I don't think Mr. Poilievre would be in the position he's in right now, but it's still a lot of time left. We still have debates. At the end of the day, the people will decide which way they want this country to move forward, but sometimes the truth hurts.
In an interview for a podcast, Ford's campaign manager Corey Tanecki said Poilievre's team is guilty of, quote, campaign malpractice for losing the 25-point lead they had over the Liberals at the start of the campaign. Corey later doubled down on the comments during an appearance on CTV's Top Political show. The strategist helped lead Ontario's Conservatives to 3 majority governments under Ford.
Federal party leaders were on the campaign trail talking about defense spending, crime, and health care.
At the core of our new strategic approach to defense and security, we will also establish Borealis, the Bureau of Research, Engineering, and Advanced Leadership in Innovation and Science. Borealis will advance cutting-edge research in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and other frontier technologies essential to safeguarding Canadian sovereignty. Because today, defense is not only about manpower, it's about brain power.
Every life matters, and someone who takes multiple lives should be held accountable for each one. That's why I'm announcing today a Conservative government will reintroduce and pass the law that empowered judges to impose consecutive sentences for killers convicted of multiple murders. The worst mass murderers should never be allowed back on our streets. For them, a life sentence should mean what it says, a life sentence. They should only come out in a box.
We need to recruit more, we need to retain the workers we have, we need to respect them better, and we can do that. We spend billions of dollars in healthcare transfers. Let's make a condition of those transfers that we have appropriate levels between nurse-patient ratio, that we have good pay for these nurses, and we hire enough nurses. We're going to tie healthcare funding to provinces that actually deliver on these priorities.
Now today, just about everybody is in Quebec. Liberal leader Mark Carney is set to make an announcement in Quebec this morning. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has a news conference in Montreal. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh also campaigning in Montreal. Green Party co-leader Elizabeth May is in Victoria, and co-leader Jonathan Pedneau will spend the day campaigning in his Montreal riding.
Federal officials are advising voters to be on the lookout for online disinformation tied to the election debates this week.
The leaders' debates are vitally important for our democratic process. It's a time for Canadians to discuss the issues that matter the most to them and understand the priorities of each candidate. We anticipate, based on past years, that there will be significant online activity during this time. But in some cases, election debates have been subject to false claims that were circulated widely. For example, in September 2024, a post on X falsely claimed that one presidential candidate in the United States wore an earpiece during the debate. That post gained 8 million views, and the story spread up to Facebook and was shared thousands of times. This is what we call disinformation, which is false information that is deliberately intended to mislead the reader.
Federal party leaders will square off in a televised French language debate Wednesday and then an English one on Thursday.
In Sportsline, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has finally signed that $500 million U.S. 14-year contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. It is the largest contract in Toronto Blue Jay history. Guerrero signed with Toronto as a 16-year-old in 2015, and he made his major league debut in 2019. At the signing news conference, he was asked what his 20-year-old self would think of all this.
I say about this is, I would think about this always since I'm signed here. I always think I'm going to be Blue Jay forever, and that's what happened today. We thank God we did it, and I'm going to be Blue Jay forever.
Guerrero thanked his agent, teammates, family, fans, and the City of Toronto for all the love and support. And after that signing ceremony, Guerrero Jr. and his team, they had a baseball game to play against the Atlanta Braves.
There's nobody on base. It's the first inning. You can't throw a ball in that situation.
Let's see how he deals with Sean Murphy.
This ball is struck well out to left center field. Sean Murphy has left the building. Already
Toronto starter Easton Lucas finally gave up his first earned run of the season last night, and once the Atlanta Braves started scoring, they didn't let up. Austin Riley had 2 home runs and 5 RBIs, and Sean Murphy hit a 2-run blast to beat the Blue Jays 8-4 for their second road win of the season. Braves right-hander Grant Holmes didn't allow a hit until Miles Straw homered to begin the bottom of the 6th.
Toronto Maple Leafs were off last night. They play Buffalo tonight. In Montreal, though, the Canadiens had a chance to make it to the playoffs for the first time since 2021.
Well, you know who's out. With the digits on his back of 93. Goes after it now. He's in. He scores!
He had a goal and an assist in his NHL debut. Not enough, though, as the Canadiens didn't clinch a playoff spot after a 4-3 shootout loss to Chicago. The Canadiens are still 4 points ahead, though, of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So if the Blue Jackets lose tonight, Montreal grabs the final wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. Montreal's final regular season game is against the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow night.
Fiala gets to it. He'll move it back. Kempe, wristing one, tipped in.
Adrian Kempe had a goal and 2 assists as Los Angeles beat the depleted Edmonton Oilers 5-0. They have now won 7 of their last 8 and have officially clinched home ice for the opening round of the NHL playoffs against Edmonton. The teams will face each other in the first round for the 4th consecutive year.
Still controls the puck as he goes behind the net, out the near side, gets it to Besser, who missed the net. Puck comes right to the side, DeBrusk scores!
Jake DeBrusk scored in overtime, and the Vancouver Canucks beat the San Jose Sharks 2-1. Now the Canucks goalie, Nikita Tolopoli, I don't know how to say this. We're going to get Louis in afterwards, and I'll ask him. He marked a couple of big firsts last night. Not only did he make his first NHL start, he also collected his first win, making 15 saves against the Sharks.
Hey, 12 minutes after 6 o'clock. It's, well, you know, we're halfway through April now. Okay, 15th of the month already. The sky is fairly clear. The sun's not up yet, but in about less than a half an hour, it will be up, and we will see some sun to start the day. So let's check traffic first of all. 403 and Waterdown Road. Again, nothing has really changed there, so still looks good. Check some MTO traffic cameras as usual into St. Catharines and around the Horseshoe east of Lake, doing fine. Nothing there. Nikola Tesla still doing okay. Here's east of Brant Street. It was a little slow coming off the Skyway. But we had a disabled vehicle off to the right, but it cleared really quickly, so nothing to see there. East of Royal Windsor, that's right around the Ford plant, nothing. And the QEW at Dixie, no problems there. All right, let's get to the temperature that we have at the moment. Now, last hour we were 8 degrees. This hour we've fallen to 7, and that trend will continue because we will fall as the day progresses. So right now we're 7. The winds are picking up. West-southwest 19, gusting to 45. But right now the sky is mainly clear. So when the sun comes up, we will have some sun this morning. And then we'll get some showers later on this afternoon. And that's the temperature. That's where we're going later on today. So cooler air is really going to flood in. Temperature will sink as the day progresses. So what's happening is we have a trough of low pressure that's just going to sweep its way across the lakes, and that's what will give us the instability later on, and the more northwesterly flow, which is going to drop our temperatures and give us a much cooler overnight tonight. Today, this is where the temperatures are going later on. We'll hit a high of 10. I mean, the temperature will build a little bit, but then we'll sink to 3 and 4 degrees by later. The sky will become cloudy, and we'll get some showers later. Tonight, yeah, it looks like we could get some flurries overnight as temperatures fall to 0 and +1. There's a couple of minuses on the column there. Kitchener and Guelph into the minus column at 1. But then tomorrow, well, a lot cooler day tomorrow, 5 and 6 degrees. There'll be some flurries in the morning lingering from the overnight, and then we'll start to see a bit of sunshine. So it'll get better as the day progresses tomorrow. So out the door, 15th morning of April. This is what we're looking at. Mainly clear skies. It is mild still. Temperature about 7. Long range coming up. Manette Simone.
Thanks, Brian. Well, coming up after the break, we'll say good morning to Louis Butko with a preview of what's to come in Chit Chat. And coming up, the latest numbers show just how much Canadians are avoiding travel to the U.S. Well, it's time to say good morning to Louis Butko. Louis, what do you have coming up in Chit Chat for us?
Well, Simone, coming up, we know some of the new cast of the brand new Harry Potter TV series that's coming to HBO. The Voice is adding a pair of superstars to the crew, was what they're calling mega mentors. And coming up later this morning, Eric Johnson joins me on the couch. We're talking about his new tour, which is coming to Stony Creek. So lots coming up.
Amazing. All right.
That's where he lives. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We'll chat with you in a bit. Thanks. All right. Looking at our business numbers, the Canadian dollar is up 14 basis points to 72 points, 0.18 cents U.S. Gold is $18 an ounce higher, and crude lost 3 cents to $61.50 a barrel. In midday European trading, markets are up in London, Frankfurt, and Paris.
In Asia, markets were up across the board. Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Shanghai, up just a tiny bit in Shanghai. North American markets saw some gains yesterday, triple digits all the way, with the TSX going up more than 275 points. This is all news, all because of news that the U.S. has partly relaxed some tariffs for now on things like smartphones and other electronics.
Now, you've probably heard that Canadian tourism to the U.S. has dropped. What's surprising is by how much. The number far surpasses what was forecast. In March, the number of Canadians driving across the border into the U.S. dropped a staggering 32% over the same time last year. Air traffic for visitors from the Great White North also plummeted 13.5%. The U.S. Travel Association warned in February just a 10% drop in Canadian tourism would cost the U.S. about $2 billion. This follows 2 years of growth in inbound tourism. Canadians historically make up about a quarter of that, making them the largest cohort of foreign visitors to the U.S.
The latest inflation numbers are coming out later this morning. Economists expect the annual inflation rate for March to hold steady at 2.6%. A lower Canadian dollar pushing up import costs, still rising food prices, and the early effects of all those tariffs are expected to impact March's numbers. And tomorrow, the Bank of Canada's next interest rate decision and monetary policy report comes out.
The Greater Toronto Area's housing market is off to a slow start this year. Royal LePage says the average price of a home in the GTA dropped 2.7% year over year to $1.1 million. Condo prices fell 4% to just over $700,000. Now, the slowdown comes amid ongoing trade tensions with the U.S. and the upcoming federal election. Royal LePage is forecasting a rebound later this year, with prices expected to rise 3.5% in the fourth quarter. An expert says low consumer confidence and rising supply are cooling the market.
The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has cut its oil demand forecast for the rest of the year. OPEC blames uncertainty surrounding U.S. tariffs. The current forecast shows a decrease of about 150,000 barrels a month. There's also a plan for the OPEC Plus group, which includes Russia, to increase production, and that has all caused oil prices to drop.
Chipmaker NVIDIA says it will begin producing its AI supercomputers entirely in the U.S. for the first time. The company announced plans to build manufacturing space in Arizona and Texas. NVIDIA's Blackwell chips have started production at plants in Phoenix. Meanwhile, the company is building a supercomputer factory in Houston and Dallas. NVIDIA says it plans to produce up to $500 billion U.S. of AI infrastructure in the U.S. within the next 4 years. It comes as the Trump administration temporarily exempts electronics like smartphones and laptops from Trump's punishing tariffs.
Okay, taking a quick break right now. Brian is going to be back with your traffic and your 7-day forecast.
Good morning. Coming up on 6:24, we do have a collision on the books here at the moment. Now, let me explain what we're looking at here. You're looking at the Red Hill Valley Parkway coming down the escarpment towards us, so that's going northbound, and you're trying to get on to the ramp to go to the Toronto-bound QEW. We have a collision right there blocking the left shoulder and the left lane going to the QEW. So we've got a cruiser that's just arrived on the scene, a couple of vehicles, so we'll continue to keep our eye on that. It's going to slow things down coming down down the Red Hill Valley Parkway. Back into St. Catharines, nothing at 7th. We'll flip ahead to south of 2. We did have a disabled vehicle there, but that is now gone. So east of 4 still looks good. Sheraton going through Mississauga, Toronto bound away from us, and we'll dip into the 403 west of Mavis going through Mississauga. Nothing going on through here. Temperatures right now, we were 8 degrees last hour. Hamilton has now come down to 7. Same for Toronto, 8 for Grimsby, 9 into Mississauga. So seasonals now are 12 for the daytime high. We beat that yesterday, and 2 for the overnight low now. Those are our sun times and records for today. We will see some showers as the day progresses, but temperature should start to build a bit. So for the first bell around 9 o'clock, temperature should climb to about 9 degrees. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, and then the temperature will fall. So mid-afternoon, after school, it'll be 6, but it'll continue to fall to 3 later on as we get those showers developing. So that's where the temperatures are going today, to 3 degrees later on with the showers. Tonight, 0 with flurries. Tomorrow we'll start the day with flurries, then we'll begin to see some sun. Temperature only climbing to 5. Then better for Thursday, sunny 11. We get milder, but it becomes unsettled. Showers Friday, Saturday. How about Easter Sunday? Sunny and 11 degrees. Not bad. That's a look at your forecast. Annette, Simone.
Thanks, Brian. Well, the torches for the 2026 Winter and Paralympic Games in Italy have been unveiled.
So they're a sleek metallic design made mostly from recycled materials. The torches use a refillable fuel canister as well to cut down on waste. So the Olympic torch, that's the blue-green one, and the Paralympic version is bronze. The flame arrives in Rome December 4th and starts its journey across Italy a couple of days later. The Milan Cortina Games run February 6th to the 22nd next year, with the Paralympics set for March 6th to the 15th. So something to look forward to.
Yes, those are really nice designs.
Very nice.
Wow,
I like that.
And they're very shiny too. Lovely. Well, definitely looking forward to that coming up. We'll be watching very closely. All right, stay with us. Plenty more to come after the break.